Greetings, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to It's Covered the Insurance Podcast, because if you think that insurance is boring, then you are not doing it properly. I am one of your hosts, Paul.
I'm Mel.
So, Mel, you and I have been talking a little bit about interviews lately.
Yeah, we have.
And just, I find it really interesting in a number of ways on how different people approach interviewing and how they kind of come to their results. And I thought we might do a few episodes on that because especially for the agency owners out there, I've talked to enough agents to know that like personnel and turnover are like the biggest issues in running an agency. I think this might be valuable for a lot broader of an audience, because I know even in claims I was doing interviews. I certainly was involved with being interviewed, trying to look for work and change jobs in any of the ways that might be. And so we thought we might do a few episodes on this, actually.
I think it'll be neat, really showing the way things have changed and the way some things have stayed the same. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I did a lot of interviewing when I was in claims, and then we together have done a lot of interviews while we're here in the agency.
Right.
And a lot of that has been unsuccessful. I'll say it's like, this is a topic that I've been studying for a long time, and there's a lot of times where you're going to miss the problems when you're in an interview, because
they're told to put their best foot forward.
Right. Yeah. I remember, and actually this was a great. I have used this line once, but old boss told me this. He was actually a boss in claims, and he's not there anymore. But he mentioned this to me, that he's used this line before too, when one of the staff members in claims just doesn't seem to be able to get along with anybody, and just feels the need to kind of speak his mind all the time, even when it's inappropriate. And he tries to talk to that person. The person will say, well, that's just the way I am. And he told me that he would respond kind of like, huh, were you like that in the interview?
Bingo.
Yeah. And they say no. And he goes, oh, well, then you can control it. And it's notable that the one time I did use it, that line, the person says, yeah, I think I was like this in the interview.
Oh, no.
It's like, well, that backfired a little bit, but he was not like that in the interview. I told him so. But I will also say that, looking back at the people we've interviewed that have not been successful, the things that made them unsuccessful were things that we saw in the interview and thought we could overcome,
right,
or should have seen in the interview, but just looking back at their answers,
right,
on stuff. And so it turns out, kind of thinking about it, I think that's been a problem when we've been unsuccessful. That's been a problem with us kind of settling for someone where we know things are not going to work out great.
Yeah.
And just assuming that we're good enough workers that we'll be able to take them in our arms and form them the way we wish to.
Yeah, it's kind of like dating when you were younger. When you go to the next person, your questions are always geared, okay, I want to make sure they're not like the last person.
Yeah. When I was much younger, it's actually my second job out of college. I was interviewing for this job, and in my first job out of college, I was on a very small team, and one of the members of the team would just not work, but always be the first person to take credit for all of our accomplishments. And like the boss would come in and it's like, hey, y'all did a really great job on this thing, and that person would be, it's like, oh, thank you, we really worked hard on it. And it really annoyed me. And so, like, the interview, I realized this after the fact. It was like the interview at the next job, I was harping so much on, I work really hard and I want to be recognized for my individual accomplishments and not group accomplishments. And they like called me back and like clarified what I meant by all that. And so I had to like dial it back some. They hired me anyways, but it was one of those things I realized that it's like, oh yeah, the last experience really colors the way we approach things.
Oh yeah, and it makes people look better than they actually are, because all the questions they answered correctly. They're not like the last person, so this person is perfect.
Right. Yeah, we'd have like one person that there's just a lot of drama. And I remember the next person, we spent a lot of time in the interview talking about drama.
Yeah, we did.
And so, there's, I've kind of always had, because I'm good with people one-on-one, and I can sit down with people one-on-one, and I get really good impressions of people, like, very quickly. My instinct has always been to just, kind of follow my gut, and just kind of wing it in interviews, and that's been good for me in some occasions. In some occasions, it's been very bad, and that's one of the reasons that it's very bad. All my questions turn into what's on my mind.
Yeah.
Instead of really just sitting down and figuring out what I need to ask.
Okay.
Yeah. But. So we're going in the next few episodes. Today we're going to talk about just some general stuff about interviewing, and stuff I've heard from others, and stuff we've done in claims and we've done here, and then in the next two episodes we're going to talk about two particular techniques that both of them I like. One is much more nerve-wracking than the next one, but you're gonna have to tune in next week and the following week to figure out which one I'm talking about, because that interview was a hot mess. That was magnificent. Oh, it's so good. We're gonna make y'all wait 2 weeks for that one.
Yeah. And neither of those are the gut, right? None of those techniques are the gut instinct.
No, gut instinct's not the best technique.
Okay.
But we might as well talk about that a little bit. There is a certain advantage to that. Mm-hmm. To what is your instinct with this, and a lot of what we get off of instinct is, how is this person connecting with me? We've always done group interviews here, at least the in-person interview. Because how is this person relating to everyone? And like, how are they fitting in to the culture of the office? Because if you get that person that is just going to just rub against culture all the time, it becomes much more of a problem than you think it's going to be.
True, very true.
And so part of that gut instinct is really good. I know a lot of people that go a lot by their gut, and I would say that, like, the times where we've hired and it's not been very successful, most of those times, like, we all had a gut impression that there was something wrong.
Right. I think whenever you get that gut, and then you want to be fair and professional, but your gut's telling you one thing, and if you don't listen to it, you can regret it usually.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's that professional instinct. I think you're nailing it. The professional instinct of not judging someone because I don't like him.
Right.
And we used to work with a coworker who was very blunt with those. You know, I don't like her. You know, well, why? I don't. You know, and that's just, you know, she was very upfront with her gut instinct, and our instinct though as professionals that have worked, you know, in businesses for a long time is first we have the gut instinct and then the instinct of, but I cannot judge this person on my gut. I must have logic and reason.
That's right.
Well, you know, a lot of times our gut instinct is working on stuff that's going to come up.
Yeah.
And especially here, I mean, we're such a small agency. Anybody we have in the room, we're going to be dealing with a lot. And I say a room because, you know, those who are watching on the video know, you know, what you see is us in a cubicle. That's because there are no walls in our agency. So this is a room. You know, we're in a room, and we're going to be dealing with one another a lot. And things like, I don't like someone, while it might not be my only reason for passing on someone, but that can turn a pleasant working environment to a really tense one very quickly.
Yeah.
And when the culture goes sour, the quality of work goes sour.
Right.
The results go sour. And so you might have legitimate reasons to just go ahead and buck that, you know, to shake things up. It's like, well, you're going to have to deal with this person anyways. There might be very legitimate reasons, but the point is, I don't think we should ignore that.
Do you think whenever we were in claims, do you think the gut really mattered? Just because in claims you had that corporate environment. Nobody ever looked at it as a family. Nobody ever looked at it as, hey, this is our unit here. We work really good, been together for years. I don't feel that was in the claims offices.
I'd say, you know, okay, so like, and we were in a much, much bigger office, obviously. But I will say that even in that environment, like, okay, so like one bad apple in a room of 4 people does a lot of damage. Okay. You know, one bad apple in a room of 100 does less damage, right. But the damage is still there. Okay. And over the years, even in big offices, you know, I've had a lot of experience with someone who's sitting nearby just kind of just ruining my experience all the time, you know, and I've talked to enough people that, you know, like every time we move desks, the worry was that we were going to be seated next to one of a handful of people.
Yes,
for different reasons.
That was the drama, you know, at the time when you moved desk. Oh no, what's going to happen? Right,
and it might be the complainer, or it might just be the really talkative one that, you know, just will not shut up, or it might be, you know, it might be the person who's just determined to listen to music that you hate, you know.
Yeah.
Or it might be just, you know, someone who's seriously irritating and just a drain on the office culture, and so yeah, it was less of that, because when I was interviewing that, you know, for claims, it was not for people that were normally going to be sitting right next to me, and so I was focused less on that in that environment. But it was still definitely present.
Yeah.
Um, there's there's a lot of ways that we approach an interview that that can give us some insights, and we're not going to go into the exact techniques or something. We're gonna save that for next episode. But I've really started liking talking to people on multiple occasions, and so I started just having kind of a phone conversation with someone that wasn't having a lot of questions. It was just what it kind of, where you come from, what are you looking for, that sort of thing, this sort of thing, and then have some sort of other interaction in between, and then the in-person interview. And I do it. I've done it like that because I know how it is to be looking for a job, and those jobs that have you come back for 12 interviews that are all 15 hours long. I'm exaggerating, It's I'm looking for other jobs, right? I mean, this is a thing,
Yeah,
I can't spend my entire week being here for no pay.
I think I had an old boss that was like that. He'd do the interview and really didn't have anybody else looking at, but just purposely wouldn't call you back. Just wanted to see how badly you wanted the job. He would say, if you called back and said, "Hey, I never got a call from you."
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, call me back tomorrow about 8. And he wanted to see if you'd call back tomorrow at 8. And then, I'm sorry, I've been really busy. Tell you what, call me on Wednesday about 10 o'clock. Just to see if you'd call back at Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So,
see, and that I like that. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna get to desk. Remind me about desk sits.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, this is. Remind me about that. But it's a lot of what people don't understand is the second they walk through the door, they're on the interview.
Right.
What time did you arrive? How are you behaving? And I learned this the hard way. In high school. And, nobody's going to be surprised that I was a speech and debate kid. As a dork. And we were in one round, and I was waiting for my chance to perform. And the judge was doing what the judge is not supposed to do, which is just take forever in between performers, writing notes. What you're kind of trying to do is write them as you go, and kind of collect your thoughts and then fill out the ballot at the end. But she was writing a novel in between performers, and this is not on stage, right? This is not in front of 100 people. This is a round of 6 performers. There might be 8 people in the room, and we're in a small classroom at some other high school, and I'm standing there for a very long time, waiting for her to be ready for me to perform. And out of sheer nervousness, I start just kind of just a little bit. I forgot what I said, but I was trying to make everybody laugh. And I wasn't making fun of her or anything like that. It wasn't mean-spirited or anything. It was just kind of like a how's everybody's day going type of a conversation. Yeah. But I started talking, and part of her judging of me was how I handled that time where I was just supposed to be standing there.
Oh wow!
And I did very poorly.
Yeah.
But that's what people don't understand. So I learned that in high school, that it's the interview does not start when they pull out the piece of paper and ask the first question.
Right.
The interview starts actually when you're on the phone scheduling the interview, and then you walk through the doors.
Exactly.
But how prompt are you? Were you early? How early? How are you dressed? How are you behaving in the lobby while you're waiting? and I had a recent story of somebody who it wasn't here, but it was a different office, who the interview got delayed because of an issue with a customer, and so they had this person waiting in the lobby, and the person got very annoyed at this, that I have to wait, and ends up just getting really upset and saying, basically, it's not right that I'm waiting this long, and it's like, that is something that I take note of. Like, if I'm being interviewed and the interviewer is not prompt and not organized, that's my new boss, possibly. And am I going to be able to put up with this every day? But I'm not going to say that in front of that person.
No, just internally think about it and wonder.
Yeah, you take all this in, but you don't. But if I stood up and complained, you made me wait an extra 30 minutes, and you're not even ready for this interview. Right. That looks very poorly on me. But it is something that I would definitely note. But yeah, so wow, I got off track there, didn't I?
Well, I mean,
we're on topic.
We're talking about we're on topic, but we're talking about something that you've been on both sides of.
Yeah.
So you've gone through interviews since you were 16 or whatever, and you've given interviews, when you're older. So it's something on both sides. As soon as you bring up something, there's just a flow of memories coming up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I remember this time, and there was this one. And interviewing someone for the first time, for me, was just really odd, because, of course, whenever you're going in the interview, you know what job you're going for, you're acting, the part, you're saying what you think they want to hear. And the first time I did an interview, the only thing I kept thinking of was, I wonder if he really believes that. Did he really just say that? Or why is he dressed like this? He always dressed like that? Yeah. There were so many things in my head, because the interview that I was on before and that I'm giving now, I was thinking about both of them. I know how I felt, and I said what they wanted to hear, and then I was skeptical on the other side.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I really like talking to people multiple times. And I like doing things. And we're gonna when we get to desk sits, we'll talk about a little bit about putting them in situations that they might relax their guard a little bit. But one of the things that I was thinking when you're saying that, it's like how they're dressed. Is I remember when I was in claims interviewing one guy, and he turned out to be a really good employee, and I went to bat for him to try to get him hired. But the guy's straight out of college, and our boss was kind of an old school guy, wear the tie to work type of thing. And I had to wear a tie the other day, and it's just like, well, it's been a long time. Well, the kid comes to the interview, and he's wearing a tie. But, okay, so the guys in the audience know this. So, you have a couple of different types of collars on a button-up shirt.
Right.
One that can be buttoned down, or you can, or I know this, I've never used them, but they sell some magnets and stuff that will hold the collar in place and ready for the tie. Or ones that are the collars are stiff. They don't have anything holding them down, but once you put on the tie, they kind of fall into place. So he's wearing a tie, and he had the button-up ones, but they weren't buttoned. Oh. And my boss was just laser focused on that. Laser focused. It's like, why would you come to an interview and not button those? And I'm sitting there like, this kid is, I think we're the first interview out of college. I don't know that he's ever worn one of those shirts before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, when we grew up, we had a suit in the closet. Right. And there were occasions that we wore a tie. But that, that's a fashion statement that is rapidly dying.
They're not. It's not common if you're younger. You've been to college. You just don't have shirts like that. You have your polo shirts if you're going to wear something nice, or khaki and a polo shirt. But
right. Exactly. Yeah.
they don't have button down. But it's funny. I had a bunch of shirts that had that type of collar, but I never touched them because I never wore a tie with them, so they were never unbuttoned.
Right. Yeah.
And so
that's the way mine is. I haven't unbuttoned these because I've literally never worn a tie with this shirt.
Right.
So I've never unbuttoned these.
And then I guarantee you, the first time you unbutton them, you're going to put on that shirt like you've always put it on before and probably not button those.
Well, in this case, I did ask him later because we did hire him. I asked him later.
Oh, great.
He's like, I had no idea what those things were for. No clue. It's fair,
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to talk about desk sits. I loved desk sits when I was in claims because what they did was they put them, because what you tell the prospect is sit down with this person and watch them go through what you're going to be doing if we hire you, and see if this is going to be something that you are willing to do for 8 hours a day. And 9 times out of 10, the applicant did not realize that this is part of the interview.
Oh, yeah.
And
they think it's like I must have already got the job. This is what I
would
started training or something.
Well, they would just think, okay, they're sending me here that way I don't quit in week 1 when I find out what the real job is, because then the person they're sitting with is not one of the interviewers. But we'd always go back to that person. And I was that person several times, and and I would go back with my impressions.
Yeah.
And they talk all sorts of crap in those moments. Yeah, I'm looking for this job while my real estate license goes through, because I think I'm going to start that in about 5-6 months.
Yeah.
I really don't like talking on the phone, stuff.
Mission accomplished. Guard down.
Exactly. Yes. And so we would do the desk sits for not terribly long. I know of a lot of companies and agents who will do very extended desk sits, which I think can be pretty cool. Once again, it's kind of the balance, though, of how much time are you expecting this applicant to spend, trying to get the job.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that is like, look, if I know I'm going to get a job and I want this job, if you want me to spend the whole week with you, I will. But if I don't know you're going to hire me or not, and I need a job, then spending that long with you is keeping me from applying to other places.
Right.
And it's also keeping me as the agent away from my desk for an extended period of time. And so there's that sweet spot, and I'm not sure what that sweet spot is of how much time to spend with someone while not really just draining both of you of just exceeding amounts of time.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I think that's that has to work well with the grace period whenever you're hiring someone. You have that period of evaluation, or something like that. They have to work good together because, like you said, you may not have a lot of time with the person, or they're trying to find other jobs and keep asking them back and spending time with you. They just don't have it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my first real interview when I was in college. I say real interview because I had a job as a senior in high school, but it was like this family-owned joint. It was a pizza place, and the interview really consisted of, you got a car, right? Okay. You're Jeff's friend, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, what times can you be here? And what time do you get out of school? Oh, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, all right. So what about Friday? You know?
Yeah, and in your head, that's like, oh, that was I don't know what everybody's so stressed out about with interviews. That was easy.
Yeah, but so like my next real interviews, and I had 2 in one day, and I'll tell you the Best Buy story because it was hilarious. I was it was a brand new Best Buy, and I knew they had positions open, and I was like, oh, Best Buy, that's pretty cool. I should spend a lot of money there. I'd love a discount. And so they had like the automated phone interviewing system. It wasn't online yet, but you kind of typed in your answer, and it was like 1 for yes and 2 for no, for the first long period of time, and so like, it's like okay, state your name, okay, state your address, put all this information in. It's like, okay, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Are you a U.S. citizen or eligible to work in the United States? 1, yes. Do you have reliable transportation? 1, yes. Are you 18 years or older? 1, yes. I think they asked something else. 1, yes. Do you currently use any illegal drugs? 1, yes. No! And it promptly said, I'm sorry, we do not have any positions open. I'm like, I know you have positions open. You have a big sign on the road. And I had to call them up to get them to clear that out, because they were like, well, no, I mean, we dig, but you can reapply in 60 days. And I'm like, well, the whole place is going to be hired by then, Yeah. And so they let me clear it out. But I had 2 interviews in one day, and one of them was at Barnes and Noble, and the next one was at the Best Buy. And I set them like an hour and a half apart because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought interviews just, it's like, hey, yeah. Okay.
Hour and a half is plenty of time.
Yeah. They're right next door to one another, so I'll probably have some time in between.
Yeah.
And Barnes & Noble was first, and thankfully it was a very short interview, and I was able to make it to the other one in time. But the Best Buy one was like 2 hours. And it was mostly misunderstanding. And this is one area where you got to have flexibility in the interview. Like the interviewer just had this list, and it was like, at your last performance review, what did they say about you? Like, I never had a performance review. It was a family-owned joint, Yeah. I'm sitting there right next to the owner, who is brothers with the manager, who's brothers with the other manager. And if they had a problem with me, they're just like, hey, Paul, stop doing that, Or, Paul, good job on that. And so I kind of answer, I explain that, and it's like, well, I think what they would say if you talk to them is this. Okay, great. At your last performance review, what did they say about this topic? It's like, again, I haven't had one.
Yeah.
And she started getting annoyed with me for saying I've never had a performance review. And I'm like, but you keep asking about it. How am I supposed to answer? And so she did not like me at all. But once again, just some flexibility.